We are going to turn again to our good old friend David Ogilvy for some advice on how to write headlines and how important they are. And here it is. On average, 5 times as many people read the headline as read the body copy. When you have written your headline, you have spent 80 cents out of your dollar. And I certainly agree with that statement. So let's see what are the tips for writing good headlines. So the point of headlines is to grab their attention, not to sell. Even though you're spending the 80 cents, that's just to grab their attention. And then you need to follow up very, very carefully. But it's very important for you to set the frame and to let people know what to expect in the headlines. You don't need to give up the juice yet, but you have to get their attention. And so my first piece of advice here is that if you want action, first of all, get attention. Then, of course, you can very slightly, subtly mention what's in it for them. When using headlines, a lot of the time, using numbers and starting with numbers is very helpful. That would be all these types of headlines like 10 tips to do that, 11 tips to do that, 7 tricks to that, and so on. These will always work because of the curiosity factor, and people, even if they are new to that subject or if they are experts, they want to check. Naturally, there's this urge to see, do I know all of them or not? And so this is why these always work for both newbies and other segments. Again, for the same reason, the how-to headlines still work, and they probably always will, because if you can provide an answer to a certain question or something that people need right now, that would be very, very useful. And of course, how-to headlines work for another big reason in digital marketing, and that's keyword research, because we can actually research what questions people are asking in the search engines. And once we know, and we can also get a little bit of an estimate for the competition, then of course we can match our headlines to what people are searching for and capture that search traffic, of course. And there are headlines that also work a lot that are common mistakes. For example, just showing several important things that people get wrong in your industry or in your area. And if they know that they got it wrong, then that would be very convincing. And they would immediately perceive you as an expert. I'll give you a real example. So as you might already know, I am very uninterested in accounting. I don't care about the money at all, and so I generally tend to ignore accounting. And so once in a business conference, I went to an event, and there was a presentation by this accountant. And so his presentation was the 5 most common mistakes that people make in accounting. And of course, it grabbed my attention because I didn't know, and I had made all of them. And of course, I did make all 5, and they cost me thousands of dollars because I got fined. I basically didn't do it right. And so obviously, then that guy became my accountant because I knew that he knows what are the things that people get wrong, and I could trust him immediately that he would let me know and save my company from the taxmen, fines, and so on. And of course, he converted me very, very easily. And that's how showing common mistakes and the good solutions to them can get you customers. First of all, because it grabs attention. People want to know for the same reason, like with the numbers titles, that they want to see if they made all of them, or if they made that kind of mistake. And of course, once you do show them something that they don't know, something surprising, and they learn something from you, then they can immediately perceive you as an authority on the subject and trust you, and they are much, much more likely to buy from you. Right. So then, of course, there is a certain power in questions, and there can be specific questions that you can ask. Like, for example, if we take Masters Academy, we could ask questions like, how do you know what's your next best move? You don't know, and if you don't know the answer to the question, you are much more likely to click, and very likely to click on that video or email or ad because you don't know the answer. And that's the trick behind making headlines or titles with questions. You are targeting your audience with a question that you are pretty sure that they cannot answer. For example, like sometimes people go with vague questions like how to outperform your competition, and then people doubt, well, how does this guy know what I should be doing? But you can be specific, and being specific is another one of the tips that I want to give you. So if you are super specific, this can be very powerful. And so with questions, make sure people don't know the answer and they do want to know it. Now, the next one is to use question words as answers. So, for example, that would be a title like 3 ways to figure out what you can do next in your business. Of course, here I'm using several of these, but using the question words as answers lets people know immediately that they're going to find the answer to that question word, whether it's what, why, when, where, how, if, and so on. So just using any of the question words as answers can immediately help people perceive the benefit in what your content provides. And so that's why they are very, very powerful. And of course, I will be showing you examples to all of these. Now, being super specific is another one. Like, for example, learn content marketing would not be a good headline. It's a good call to action probably, but not a good headline because it does not capture their interest. And if you don't get their attention, then you're not going to get action. And so being specific would be, something like how to use content marketing for your to attract and to build an audience for your business. Now that would be something much more specific, and if people don't know how to do that and they're interested in it, that can get you a lot more. And for example, if you are teaching guitar, learn guitar would not be a good title, but starting out with guitar, or guitar lesson 101, learn your first song would be a much better example of a specific headline. And then once we discuss the KISS principle, you will understand that short and concise headlines are very, very much better than longer ones. So what we mean by the short and concise tip is that you should try to keep it as short as possible. Making things shorter actually takes time, and it's much harder than making them longer. So you need to understand that if you are going to write a specific headline, try to be short and concise, and try to shorten it several times. So when we get to the short and concise, I actually have a tool here that you can use to practice. And practice is actually very, very important for your copywriting skills and for the development of your copywriting. So I will just show you this tool now. you can open it up like this and get a browser up. And here it is. So this tool actually allows you to focus specifically on headlines. And you can use it for many other different purposes, but you can see tweets, emails. It has different options here. But first of all, you should try to write for any campaign that you're trying to do at least a few headlines. So let's say in this case, this tool allows you to do 25, and I definitely do recommend that you do 25. So if your campaign is not worth you spending the time to write at least 5 different headlines, you probably shouldn't be doing that campaign. And so that's why we always use this tool to come up with different ideas, and you can see, different recommendations here, and it also helps you keep your headlines short. So let's say, for example, that I want to write a few headlines for Masters Academy. So one would be, let's start with the simplest one. What do we want them to do? We want them to learn digital performance marketing with Masters Academy. You can see that immediately once you pass the 50 symbols, it will turn yellow, and then join the elite. And at 100 symbols, it's actually going to stop you because you are going too far. And so now definitely this is a pretty bad headline. But if you write 25, you can write different iterations of it. You can try and use the different tips that I gave you here. And of course, just by trying to do different headlines, following the different pieces of advice that I gave you, and by combining them, you can get some better results. I know that this sounds very straightforward and it looks very logical, and probably you're going to say to yourself, well, I already knew that. Of course, I could try and write 50 titles. I want you to teach me how to write it great the first time. The way to write it great the first time is the topic of the entire course. So we are going to get there, but one of the best ways to get there is to actually practice. So copywriting is a skill, and you cannot learn it unless you practice it. So that's why I recommend you use that tool and you write several different headlines, and then show them to your peers, your friends, your colleagues, and so on, and ask them for what they think is best. So of course, then in the next video, we are going to talk about the next part, which is capturing people's interest.